Yo, what's up guys? Rygo here for MACkite, and today we're going to talk about a new kite in Slingshot's lineup, and that is their dedicated big air kite, the Machine. I've got two different sizes to test in this one, a 12 meter and a 15 meter. We're going to do two separate reviews because I do feel that these sizes are very different kites and you're going to be using them in different conditions, so that merits a completely different review. But for the 12 meter, I did actually find that this is a completely different animal from anything I've experienced with Slingshot yet, and I'm super familiar with that brand. I rode the RPM for years. I know how a Slingshot kite is supposed to feel, and I can honestly say that they kind of broke the mold, tried something different, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. And if you're a big air rider, you should be too. So we're gonna break down what you can expect in this video, so let's dive into it. So if I had to sum this kite up in a paragraph, I would say that it's light, the bar pressure is light, it's forgiving, it's high aspect, it's very fun, and it's kind of a, I guess you could say it's kind of an old guy kite. It's extremely forgiving in gusty wind. It's a decent looper, but take that with a grain of salt, because at least for the 12 meter and up, I definitely would not trust that size for a catch. Most kites you wouldn't trust a 12 meter for a catch on a big loop, but for hand drags and dark slides, it's kind of aimed at that old school rider who really wants a ton of loft. So when you send the kite and you're bringing it across the window, there's just so much extra lift, and then when you go for the loop, it's a very gradual build and then a whoosh and it pulls you through, which is a really unique feel and really beneficial for a lot of those old school tricks that probably 90% of riders out there are working on, like dark slides, back roll hand drags, things like that. But what makes this kite really stand out in my mind is, I guess we'll start point by point, and the light bar pressure. Now, I've flown Slingshot for a long time, and the last thing I would say about any Slingshot kite is it has light bar pressure. But with the 12 meter Machine, when I pumped up initially, I actually didn't think I had any power, and I almost went back and got the 15 meter, and then I thought, well, no, I'm gonna give this a go, let's try. We'll get out there, normal size twin tip, and to my surprise, I had plenty of power. I was able to jump, was able to do tricks, rock upwind, wasn't underpowered at all. It's just, I've come to expect moderate to heavy bar pressure from Slingshot kites. Now, going in line with the lighter bar pressure, which is amazing for your joints if you're somebody with like golfer's elbow or something like that, or tennis elbow, but the kite itself just seems to be a lighter build, and I think that's something that Slingshot is going for. In the past, they've always had a focus on like durability, and they're going to build the most bomb-proof, extra this, extra that. Let's just make sure this thing can survive a nuclear explosion. And basically, I think they're finally rethinking that and getting in line. And it's not like it's a special material, it's a standard material kite, but it does feel significantly lighter in the air. I could feel it while flying it, and even just carrying it to set it up. It felt like a lighter kite compared to the RPMs and things that I've used in the past. Now, when it came to the performance of this kite, I actually got to test the prototype last year in St. Petersburg and offer some feedback to the R&D team, and I got to try it back to back with a few of my kites, including my RPM. And the most notable characteristic was just how forgiving this kite was in gusty wind. And I really can't emphasize this enough, because every time I've gone out and I'm not having fun in bad wind and I've gone out on the Machine, it's an incredibly fun session. And I think part of that is because it's just a really lofty, kind of higher aspect kite. And so with these more modern high aspect kites, they're really swift. Swift, that's a funny word. They turn really fast, so you can send them and get good speed for a jump. But what's really unique to them is when you're working the kite, so say you send it and you're bringing it across, and then you're bringing it back across, you can really feel extra loft, and it kind of feels like you're up in the air forever compared to a lot of the standard three-strut kites where you're kind of up, decent loft, you're working them, but then you kind of come back down. You really do get like, it's almost like slow motion. And I think this is a major benefit for a lot of aspiring big air riders, because that extra hang time really is forgiving when you're learning how to do rolls, or say something like a late back roll, or a board off, or anything you can think of where you just need extra hang time to kind of process what's happening, the machine is going to be a great kite for that, because you're going to have just so much hang time. And it's pretty incredible when you go back to back with a standard 3-strut kite, then you get on one of these high aspect kites. Now, moving back onto the point of kite loops, it's interesting because there's a couple different categories of big air kites. The high performance looper, mega looping kites, and then kind of these more like fun, forgiving, stay in the air forever kind of. And when it comes to loops, I actually had a lot of fun doing kite loops with this, but I didn't have like, you know, a mega looping size like a 9 meter or an 8 meter or something like that. I had a 12 meter, and I did try some kite loops on it. Obviously, just you can see in this video, just high enough where I'm not going to break my knees, because I knew the kite wasn't going to catch me. And a lot of times when you get on a kite, you can feel right away if that kite would catch you or not, just by sending a jump and doing a couple of these test loops like I'm doing. And when it comes to it, you can see that it's a little slower to initiate, so it's kind of a, you have to almost pull the trigger earlier, but when you do pull the trigger, it starts to come around, you can feel it building, and it's kind of a gradual whoop, and then, yeah, it's just kind of this gradual acceleration, and then whoosh, the kite will loop and give you a good pull. And I think that's really cool for, like, again, like the hand drag based tricks. It's really nice because it gives you that little extra time to come around, and then you get that last little surge to bring you around and set you down. So it's a unique feel. I'm pretty sure I've seen some of the younger Slingshot groms just ripping and hucking loops on this kite, and they love it for that, but I guarantee that they're probably using at least a 10 meter and down. So yeah, I guess in summary, when it comes to the big air crowd, if you're somebody who just wants a kite that's going to get you a ton of height, really easy to use, really intuitive, and you just want that extra benefit of the extra loft, this kite is not going to disappoint. When it comes to wind range as well, I thought that it handled being powered pretty well. I thought the low end on the 12 was pretty standard. The conditions that I was in, it was up and down, teetering towards the light side. It didn't feel like it was underperforming in the light winds, but it also didn't feel like it had like a ton of low end. But to that end, we have, you know, there's so many different sizes where like, oh, this size feels like, this 12 feels like a 14, or this 9 flies like a 7, you know, and all those kind of embellished things. I thought the 12, it felt like a 12. It was designed for what it was designed for. It felt standard to me, it felt good, and I was happy with it. So I don't think you'll be too surprised there. It's not like some kites where you get out there and you're like, oh no, there's no low end, I need to be jacked on this kite, or oh, this kite, it's small but it has so much power per size. It felt pretty standard to me for a 12 meter, and it kind of felt like a new take on an older design. I have flown some higher aspect kites in the past, but this is probably one of the more fun ones that I've used, and I feel like it's just a modern take on an older design that actually has a lot of benefits. And ultimately what I'm getting at is this is a really, really fun kite. If you want to get out and just have smiles for miles, this really is one of those kites where I have never come back in disappointed. It always puts me in a good mood because everything feels so effortless on a kite like this. And especially when you're in gusty wind, just having a kite that's going to loft you up and keep you there, it isn't going to drop you. It really makes all the difference in the world with your session. And I really can't overstate that, because I've had so many sessions on different kites in gusty wind, and there's nothing more frustrating than not feeling in control, not being able to land a trick, and being at the mercy of what the wind is doing, and just having a kite where you have so much control that is so forgiving. Yeah, I just think there's major benefits here. So I guess that's all I could think of off the top of my head. If you got any questions for the 15 meter, let me know. I'm gonna get on that one soon and do some testing on it. I'm sending this 12 back, sadly, because I need to get more demos in, but I really did enjoy it. And if you have any other questions about this one, just let me know and I'll get back to you in the comments there and share anything that I might have missed in this video. So if you guys found the video helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you next time.